I keep my goals to myself, cause whenever I share with folks, they get a look upon their face and their memory floats to a time where their goals and the stars.
What's good? We're going to get into TNA Impact from July the 9th, 2026. This was an okay episode of TNA Impact. The Knockouts basically dominated this show, which is a good thing. I am actually enjoying the 16 knockout tournament that has been shaping up to be kind of fun. The main event between Xia Li and Xia Brookside, rematch from Slammiversary for the Knockouts World Championship. That was okay. That was fine. It was no DQs. I mean, it was fine. It wasn't better than their match at Slammiversary, but it was an okay TV match, if I do say so myself. So I did kind of enjoy that. But other than that, man, the main event scene for the men definitely needs some work for sure. And we'll get there. So hopefully it'll happen. Again, I like what they're doing with KC Navarro and Nic Nemeth. I do like that. So good stuff there. I have not been able to find the ratings for July at all. I don't know when they'll be out. The only thing that I can go on was the go-home show for Slammiversary. That was on June 25th. And that show drew 188K total viewers. And they got a 0.02 in the 18 to 49 demo. So that's fine. I would hope that maybe whenever we get those, whenever we get those results in, we should get, well, TNA should probably be able to have gotten to at least, I'd say, like 195 to maybe 205K viewers for the July 2nd episode of TNA. So there was that, because that episode was live. So, yeah. And again, that's what's killing TNA also, is the fact that they don't do enough live shows. I wish that they would just do a live show every single week and kind of take a page out of NXT's book, right? Have them run the same venue for close to a month, right? And then when they get done doing their pay-per-view, do the same thing. That's what I think they should do, right? Because the roster's so small, but it is what it is. But this episode of TNA Impact was okay. And thankfully, they still are pushing the young talent in Leon Slater and Ricky Sosa. So before we get into the review, just a real quick bit of news and notes real quick. Daria Ray and Rich Swann have both re-signed with TNA, which is great. So I'm glad that they both re-signed. I figured that Daria Ray would. She came into the company in January, and she went under, I think, a 6-month deal, and clearly she went ahead and re-signed, and that's great. So congrats. So I'm glad that she's still with TNA. Hopefully they can eventually, slowly but surely, transition her out of the GM role that she's in, the suit, and she could be a wrestler again. But if not, it's fine. I mean, again, I like what she's doing. I really do. Daria Ray is great. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the show. So we kick the show off with the first match of the night. The Hardys, Matt and Jeff Hardy, they defeat the Great Hands. They retain the TNA World Tag Team titles. Who really cares? I don't. Mustafa Ali was on the phone post-match, so it seems like he's going to eventually kick out the Great Hands, which is fine. It makes perfect sense. Maybe he'll add some new members. Maybe like it'll be Butcher and Blade or somebody else like that to show up and kind of replace the Great Hands, basically, because they suck, right? Tasha Steelz was okay. Again, I wish that Mustafa Ali would do a new gimmick. I'm getting tired of the campaign gimmick that he's been doing for the past, like, 2.5 years. That shit's done got old, in my opinion. So, there's that. But this was okay. All right, moving on from that. This leads us into Frankie Kazarian. He ended up doing another edition of the King's Court. So his guest is Moose. So Frankie asked how Moose is feeling. Moose tells us that it was emotional to be Eddie Edwards and the system at Slammiversary. He said in the past decade, he's beaten legends, champions, main event pay-per-views, and done everything else there is to do in TNA. He said at Slammiversary, he shared a moment with his beautiful wife and courageous son, King, and he says he'll always cherish that, okay? So, Frankie asked, what's next for Moose? Moose says that he'll dominate. If anyone back there wants some, they can come get some. So, Frankie asked if Moose is stupid. He has to be to call himself the quote-unquote face of the franchise while standing in the ring with the King. So, Moose said he's seen guys come and go, make a name for themselves and leave and choose. Takes a check and fame, mentioning both WWE and AEW, which is great. AEW for the money and WWE for the fame. So, yeah, that's hilarious. I actually do like that. That's funny. Funny shit. So, Frankie Kazarian said that he's done more in this company and paved the way for guys like Moose, which Moose respects. He said, despite being in this company for so long, they've never had a singles match. So, Moose offers Frankie to challenge him to a match. Frankie, he declines the offer and says he has no interest in that. He says somebody else is interested, and that man is AJ Francis. So AJ Francis shows up. Moose and AJ Francis have some words, and they're going to have a match next week. Okay, this is fine, I guess, but do I care about Moose? Nope. Do I give a damn about Frankie Kazarian? Nope. I feel that TNA needs to move on from these guys, right? These guys have been around for forever. Moose, a decade, and Frankie probably for about a good 17, 18, 19 years or something like that, or whatever. He's been with TNA, I think, since the inception. I think he came in around was it either 03 or 04? I want to say he came in like 03, so he's been there for a minute. So, what if? I don't give a shit about this at all. Moving on from that, this leads us into the Knockouts TV Championship Tournament. Indi Hartwell defeated Vicky Vanano. Vicious Vicky Vanano. The match was okay. Indi wins via the Hurt Donut, whatever, who cares? So that's fine. She advances. That's fine. Moving on from that, the Righteous and the System, they are defeated by Ricky Sosa and Leon Slater, which is great. So they are pushing both Leon Slater and Ricky Sosa. Again, I'm hoping that Leon Slater does stick around with TNA. And I do think that since Tom Hannafin mentioned on commentary about how Leon Slater wants to be a world champion, I think that was the seed planted right there when Tom said that on commentary, that's a given. It's going to end up being Nic Nemeth versus Leon Slater for the TNA World title at Bound for Glory, and that's going to be fucking awesome. I do expect for Ricky Sosa to probably win the X Division title going into Bound for Glory. So I think that's what they're going to end up doing, is crowning both those guys as champion and really push TNA into the future. Right? So good shit there. I'm glad they're still pushing the young guys. It makes sense. Good shit there. Fucking awesome. All right, moving on from that, this leads us into the second Knockouts TV Championship match. Jodi Threat, she advances. She defeats Gabby Florza, who's an indie wrestler. She's been wrestling, I think, for like 3 or 4 years or whatever, but she's okay. She's pretty good. So there's that. Jodi Threat's been in TNA for about a good 4 or 5 years. I think she came in when Scott Demore was still with TNA, and that's been about a little over a year ago. But she's been in TNA for at least a good 3 to 4 years now, so that's fine. Do I think she won the whole tournament? Probably not. Moving on from that, this leads us into Elijah, he was on this show, so he ended up doing a song, and he talked about how he has his sights on becoming TNA World Champion, and I do like this. This is great. Elijah's been in TNA for about a good 6 to 8 months, and he needs a sense of direction. I would love for him and Nic Nemeth to feud over the TNA World title for a couple months, right? Because I don't think there's going to be any pay-per-view for the month of July, just like how there was no pay-per-view for the month of May. I don't know why TNA has not done as many pay-per-views as they usually do. Maybe they're cutting back on the TNA Plus events. That's all I can make of all this, which is not good. But it is what it is. It's fine. Moving on from that, this leads us into the main event of the evening. Xia Brookside defeats Lei Ying Li to retain the Knockouts World Championship. This match was no DQ. They just used steel chairs and kendo sticks. Who really cares? This match was fine. Towards the end of the match, Xia Brookside ended up bringing in the belt. She used it on Lei Ying Li. She ends up hitting her DDT finish, the dark side onto the steel chair, and that's how she pinned Xia Li. So that feud is over and done with now. What do you do with Lei Ying Li going forward? I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know what she's going to end up doing. And that's kind of weird that she's not, been pushed forward. It's odd to me. So I don't know really what to make of it. I find it kind of weird. Who's Xia's Brookside's next challenger? I have no idea. I really don't. I can't think of anybody. Because the tournament is full of NXT women like, Thea Hale and all that, and women like that. And you got Rosemary and all them in there as well. So I don't know. I don't know what you could do with Xia Brookside, her next opponent. So I have no idea. But again, the Knockouts have been holding it down, and this show was pretty knockout heavy, which is good. Again, I'm very much enjoying the Knockouts TV tournament. I think it's fun. I do. So Mike Santana, his contract is officially up with TNA on Wednesday, July the 15th. So there's that. We all know that Santana's not going to go to AEW at all, period. He's going to be heading to WWE, so that's fine. Hopefully WWE can use him right, which I think they will. They need him. They really do need him. And again, if things don't work out, he can always go back to TNA, right? So he'll be fine in WWE for sure. He'll be fine. What else happened on this show? Oh, I forgot to mention KC Navarro. He came out. He said some words, and the Nemeth brothers, they beat up KC Navarro basically. So they took him out. So I'm guessing they're probably going to end up doing KC Navarro versus Nic Nemeth for the TNA World Championship on a random episode of TNA Impact, which is fine. I actually do like that. That's great. Again, TNA is using more of their young guys, which I do like. So I'm not going to knock that. And that should be a fucking awesome match for sure. So there's that. But all in all, TNA Impact this week was okay. I actually kind of enjoyed it. Again, I really enjoyed the Knockouts TV title tournament. I thought that was pretty good. So, Indi, Hartwell, and Jodi Threat, they advanced. That's fine. Do I think that they'll win? Probably not. I'm really hoping that Mara Shade ends up being the one to win. I think that would be great. I think they're going to end up ending Order 4. If not, they're going to end up probably replacing Jason Hodge and John Schuyler, the great hands, they're going to end up getting rid of them. Again, I feel like the campaign gimmick that Mustafa Ali has done for the past, 2+ years needs to end. That shit has gotten kind of old. I mean, it was good when Ali first came in, but he doesn't need that right now at this point in time. I like what they're doing with Leon Slater and Ricky Sosa. I got a feeling that they are going to continue to build up Leon for sure. Bound for Glory is in 3 months. They got more than enough time to build him up. And in the meantime, you can have Nic Nemeth feud with KC Navarro and maybe Jeff Hardy. You can put him in the mix. You can also put in the mix, who else? You can put in the mix Fabian Aichner. I forgot to mention Fabian Aichner. He was on this show as well, too. He had a pretty good little promo, backstage little vignette, which was really good. Talking about how he got into wrestling and stuff and all that. So I really enjoyed that. We're going to be getting Cedric Alexander and Fabian Aichner next week. That should be fucking fun as hell. So that's going to be great. Can't wait for that. And hopefully that can main event. That should main event. That's going to be great right there. So again, I like what TNA is doing for the most part. Again, we don't know if there's going to be any... a pay-per-view for the month of July. We don't really know. There should be, but I doubt it. They're really actually getting ready for lockdown, so they're probably going to continue just to kind of focus on that build for that show. I think that's in mid-August or whatever. So there's that. But all in all, this show for the most part was okay. What did you guys think? Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.